right? When we also hear many asking the question, does this mean I can now eat all the chocolate all the time? And this is, we understand that this would be much of the pleasurable experience, but this is not the reality of what will unfold. If you are much in the alignment of the resonant frequency, you will understand when it is time not to eat anymore. Therefore, you will not live on just the chocolate. We are much of the apology.
Okay. Thank you, Hamid. That's brilliant. That's really actually made me very happy because I can do this. I can actually realign myself and put myself in that frequency before I consume anything and be very mindful and intentional and still eat. Welcome to Galactic Guidance, the show that channels the wisdom of beings from higher realms. Join us as we tap into the cosmic consciousness and receive messages of clear guidance to help us navigate our spiritual evolution on planet Earth. So sit back, relax, and let's connect into the higher frequency. Hello everybody, this is Eleni, and today we have Marcus channeling Ahmed, who is a higher dimensional being living in another realm, who's passing on her amazing wisdom with all the questions that we ask, and every single week we talk about a different topic. So it's really exciting about hearing a different perspective. And so what happens is that Marcus gets into a state where he channels this high dimensional being. And at the end of the channeling, Marcus and I have a discussion and discuss the various points. So whenever you're ready, Marcus, to
Okay. Yes.
relax into that state, go right ahead.
There's much of the beautifulness that we are in this place at this moment. We understand much the construct of accepting and assimilating the information that is much of the sharedness with you. We understand that the mental aspect of the consciousness is slow to be in the receptiveness of the information, and much is the acknowledgement of the request to share with you in an aspect, in a process that will assist you in the assimilation of the frequency of the information that we are here to share with you. There's much information that we wish to share with you about the sun aspect of your consciousness and reality that you exist in. But we also understand you may have much of a question for us to respond into.
Thank you so much. I love these conversations, and I just feel that with every time we reconnect, it gets better and better as I feel your frequency, and I'm really, really grateful. So today, Ahmed, I thought I would come in with a question about food. So with all the toxins that food contains, and we know that there are some foods that have a higher frequency than other foods, and there's so many different opinions about, what you should eat, when you should eat it, whether you should be keto, whether you should be intermittent fasting, whatever. My specific question relates to how much of a difference does it make in terms of the spiritual path? So not in relation to how we look, but in relation to the spiritual path in terms of being diligent in our food choices. How much of a buffer do we have?
Much is of the interestingness with this aspect of your reality. There's much of the talk, much of the conversations that is playing in the outness around the concept. What we wish for you to understand is that this is a frequency conversation, not a food conversation as you might understand it. There is not the requirement of the food that you are understanding. And this is where the issue begins to unfold. And this is where much of the problems that you have with this construct of the eatingness, of the filling up your cellular construct with the energetics of the food that you are required to accept into the bodiness. As you expand into the frequencies, into the dimensions, as you expand in your vibratory nature, you will have more of the understanding that the construct of which of that you consume will become less of the importance. You must remember that the food is an assimilation process, and not so much of what it is that you place into this space, but how you are assimilating this frequency information. Each of the construct of your foodness is contained within a frequency. If that frequency is harmonic into the body construct, then it will be assimilated. In that assimilation of the process, you will extract the information that you require to assist in your physical construct and the cellular makeup, the cellular function. And those things that are not in the resonance of your body will then be expelled through the processes of the human form. What you misunderstand is the frequency aspect of this construct, the harmonic resonant aspect of this construct. When you consume your food aspect, and the food is not in the assimilation process, then it gets stuck within the body. In that the products cannot be released from the body, and then they accumulate in the body construct. When your channel received the chronic fatigue situation, that was much of the giftedness to assist in his expansion process and to be in this place, in this moment, in the now space. There was much of a build-up, and the assimilation process was not allowing the frequencies to be in the releasing aspect. Therefore, they accumulated. They were held on to in a construct that created disharmonic resonant patterns within the cell. This impeded the energy construct to be able to share and utilize the energy of the consumed information that he was much of the taking in. This is also the same with your construct of the eatingness. You have the ability, and this is one thing that you will learn as you continue to grow and to be in the expansiveness, that you can shift the assimilation frequency so that you can either utilize the information within the food construct to communicate in your cells and to activate aspects of the cellular function, or to be of the expellingness and be cleared from the construct of the body. This is a frequency exercise for you. You have many who sit there and have the prayingness with the food aspect. This assists in the assimilation of the food. Your initial question was what the food is the goodness and what is the not so goodness in the food. What this is much of an obsession in your with your species. What must I should be eating and what is not to be eating. We are here to let you understand that when you are in the frequency space, this is less of the importance. You have the ability to alter the resonance structure of the food to be in the assimilation and the harmonic resonance with the body construct. When your food is in the harmonic resonance of the body construct, then you can assimilate the things that are required for the physical construct and to be in the repelling of the aspects of that food or that the items that you are in the consuming of to be repelled and removed from the body construct. Therefore, it is of less of the importance as to which it is that you are eating, and more important that you align with the frequencies of the resonant construct of the food aspect. The importance in this is if you are eating of the food that is not in the resonance of the body, and you are in the obsession of this eating, we understand much of the likeness of the chocolate, much of the likeness of the sugar construct, um, which is much of the artificialness of a disharmonic frequency as such. But if you can align with this frequency, if you can harmonize into the frequency, then even this construct is not in the negative accumulation within the body, within the physicality.
This is very good news to me, Amid. And it's interesting, I was going to ask you about chocolate, and you brought chocolate up as, yes. So, okay. So, I understand what you're saying is that it's not about what we consume, but it's about being aligned with the frequency of the food that we consume. So, let's take chocolate as an example. How do we align with the frequency of chocolate when we consume it? You did mention prayer before we consume. What else?
Much in the first aspect of this is to ask yourself the question: am I in alignment and resonance with this food that I am going to be eating, the chocolate as you described? When you look at the chocolate, you have a disharmonic resonant pattern, which is that you sense that this is not of the goodness for you, that you sense that this is of the guiltness for you, then you are already in the setting up of a disharmonic resonant pattern. This disharmonic resonant pattern will then mean that the chocolate won't be able to be in the flowness, to be able to extract the energetic quality of the chocolate, and then also to be of the removing of the aspects that are not of the servingness of the human form, the human construct. You must be in the resonant harmonic vibration before you are in the consuming of the food. Once you are in the resonant harmonic vibration of the food construct, then you can allow for the flow. You can allow for the much of the enjoyment of the consuming of this construct. You can then allow it to move through the human form and through all the way, be in the flowness of this frequency, in this vibration that is being placed into the bodiness. Much is important in first of the mental aspect, to be much of the alignment of that aspect. If before you are in the consuming process that you have a disharmonic thought or a disharmonic feeling about this construct, then it is much better not to have been in the body. Much
Mm.
better to just let it in the beingness until you can come to a resonant understanding and a resonant alignment with the frequency construct of the food. This is not about the chocolate that you speak of. This is about the frequency resonance of each aspect that you place into the sacredness of your body construct. You are the sacred resonant being. You are a collection of beautiful in the frequencies. Much of the orchestra is what is your body is much like. When you have a beautiful of orchestra that is playing in harmony with itself, they are all playing in the same tune, and you place a different instrument that is tuned in the differenceness, is playing a different tune. Then you have the issues that you understand that we are to be talking aboutness. This is the issue that you are often facing. You are placing the wrong instrument in, or an instrument in that does not know the song that is your body. So first must give the music to this other instrument so that it can play in harmonic resonance with your physical construct. Then the instrument can flow through, in and through you, not leaving any of the residue, not leaving any disharmonic frequencies in any aspect of the being, and therefore not having a negative, as you would say, effect on the body.
Mm. So what I'm hearing from you is that it really is about, whatever we choose to consume, we need to put ourselves in a state where we're not going to consume it with guilt. We're not going to consume it with any kind of negative emotion. Instead, we consume it with gratitude and grace. And if we choose to do that and realign our state with whatever it is that we're consuming, then it will expel out of the body appropriately, or it will stay in the body if it's needed. So what we need to do is perhaps be more conscious, be more intentional, and ensure that our state is aligned with the frequency of gratitude and not the frequency of guilt when we're consuming food. Is that correct?
This is much of the correctness, right? When we also hear many asking the question, does this mean I can now eat all the chocolate all the time? And this is, we understand that this would be much of the pleasurable experience, but this is not the reality of what will unfold. If you are much in the alignment of the resonant frequency, you will understand when it is time not to eat any more of this construct. You will understand when the body has had enough of this construct at this frequency, and that it would be time to move on to the next frequency. You will understand this, so you will not eat off all of the chocolate. If you are in this position, then you're not listening to the frequency. You're not understanding the resonance of the body and what it is requesting of you. Therefore, you will not live on just the chocolate. We are much of the apology.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, that's brilliant. That's really actually made me very happy because I can do this. I can actually realign myself and put myself in that frequency before I consume anything, and be very mindful and intentional, and still eat chocolate. But I understand that when I do that, I'm not going to want to eat chocolate all the time. So I very grateful for your wisdom there. So now I'd like to ask you just a question with regards to what you actually came in with. When you first came into this space today, you actually mentioned the sun and you wanted to say something about the sun. What did you want to say about the sun?
This is much of a connection to the construct of that we are the question that you are of the asking. Much of the food aspect is activated with the sun aspect of your existence, and there's much talk of you not being near or in the sun aspect, and we wish this not to be the case. There's much information, knowledge, and the wisdom that is shared from the sun. The sun is much like a ball of much like a library in your dimensional reality. It is there to gift you information. Your scientists are in the understanding that light is a holder of information. And when you consume the light, when you have this light of being on the touch of the skin, you are receiving information. This is also of the truth in your food aspect, that much of the food is grown with the sun. Without the sun, there is no construct of the foodness. There is no of the plants that exist in your of the world, and there would be no more of the chocolate. We are much of the apology. It's also true of the animals that exist in your world. Without much of the sun, the animals cannot exist. And the purpose of this is that the sun is providing information. You wonder how the animals know what it is that they need to be in the doingness of, and often it is called in the genetic. It's called of the automated response that is built in to the brain aspect of these animals. But we also tell you that these animals are receiving the information from the sun aspect as to what the purpose that there is. You do not of the hearing the cow desperately trying to find its purpose. It's understanding of the purpose. The sun aspect is a gifting of this reality. If you are in the state of wondering, what is my purpose? God, we hear this question much in the ether. We hear this question from the totality of the earth construct. As we sit on the outside of your earth experience, we hear the communication. We hear the words, the collective frequencies that are coming from the planet. One of these collective frequencies is, what am I in the hearing for? What is the purpose of my place in the here? If you wish to understand this, you must spend more of the time in the sun aspect, receiving the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom. For the sun is the container of this knowledge and wisdom. When you sit under this light, when you are bathed in this construct, you will be the receiver of the information, and you will have your questions much in the answered. We understand the delicate nature of the human form, and you will understand and be in the knowing as to when to be in the sun aspect and when not to be in the sun aspect. Much has been created around the protecting of the physical form from the sun aspect, and this protection has meant that the deeper wisdom and knowledge of the species has been in the droppingness. We would request that you spend the time, short amounts of the time, to be in the protection of the physicality of the skin aspect, but also be in the receptive of the light. You can also eat much of the live food that has this knowledge and wisdom contained within its structure. And the consumption of this, the purity of this, gives you much more of the information and the knowledge and the wisdom. This sharing for you is to assist in the expansion of the consciousness, the expansion into the fullness of who you truly are. We wish for you to understand this, and therefore this aspect is of the importance. It does interlink with the food aspect, as we have been talking of.
Mm-hmm. So even if it's raining, you recommend that we be out there outside? Like, what about the whole day is cloudy and raining and we can't feel the sun on our skin? What do you suggest we do there?
In this aspect, you will still be of the receiving of the information, just not as directly, just not as much of the profoundness. So when there is the opportunity for the sunness, we would be in the requesting that you spend time in that aspect, if you can be in that position on a daily much basis. If there is a cloud and there is a thundering, then the storming, then this is not such a clever thing to be in the process of. We don't wish you to be in the coldness and in the wetness. This is not the process, but we understand your question. So when there is the opportunity to see into the sun, to experience that on the faceness, on the skin, then this is an important aspect to be in audience of the sun, because it has of the information that you need to continue the expansion.
And you mentioned earlier about protection. So you're suggesting that when there is sun, that we don't actually put protection on our face?
We understand the controversial nature of this discussion, and we wish for you to be of the caringness, but you must be of the no interference between you and the sun aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, this is not to be there all of the day. This is to be there for the 5 of the minute, the 10 of the minute. You will understand what your skin construct can be in the handling of. You must be in the sensitive nature of the frequency of the skin to understand when it is the time to not be in the sun. It's much more of the importance to do 1 minute of the aspect here, and then 1 minute of the aspect then, and 1 minute of the aspect. Not that to be in the aspect for much of the hours, much of the seconds that you have. Just be in the aspect, little of the bits from time to time to receive the information. You can be in the sun, where you go out into the out from the building that you exist in, to look to close up the eyes and place your face into the sun and just feel into the warmth of the sun, but more importantly the information, the frequency, the resonance of the information, and then just be present just for a moment, and then be in the back of the inside, and more of the frequency, but of the shorter frequency, is more important than the long frequency. This is
Mm-hmm.
the invitation.
Okay. And so Now, what about sun gazing? Is it best that we gaze into the sun? And for those of us that have contact lenses, is it better that we don't wear contact lenses?
In this aspect of who you are in this dimension, you have a much of the sensitive in the eyesness. So you must be of the protection of the eyesness and not necessarily look into the sun. You can place your face like you have in your satellite of the dish. You can place your face towards the sun, maybe even a blocking of the eyes, but not to look into the sun.
Hmm. Okay,
It's a
wonderful.
it the receptive aspect is in the skin, not in the eyesness. It is of the skin is the receptive nature of the information.
Wonderful. I mean, you give me such incredible advice and guidance, and it's always exactly what I'm thinking about in the very moment. And I'm just wondering, are you specifically in my family of light? Because you're just so spot on with the advice and the guidance that you're giving me on a regular basis.
One of the aspects in this dimensional reality you will understand is there's not of the separateness. We
Mm,
are all a part of the universal family of the light. There is not the separateness. And this is one of the constructs that you will be of the moving through. We are all of the same family. We are all together in this. There are much of the connection you have with different aspects of this, but we are all much of the oneness. When we come into these aspects, we do of the tuning in. We listen to what of the questions before the questions are of the asking. We know, we understand, we be in that of frequency, so we can connect in before the connection even is occurring.
I love it. Once again, I am so grateful for your wisdom, and I've already started doing the things that you've suggested in previous episodes of like drawing the flower of life, and now I'm going to be mindful about with the foods and setting the intention before I consume anything, and also spending more time in the sun because I love being in the sun. I really, really love being in the sun. So
Mhm.
making that an absolute priority. Thank you so much for your wisdom today.
Mm. Much of the blessingness to you and all of the beings in this aspect. Much a blessing to this species, and we wish to invite you back to the universal family of the light. And as you expand into your consciousness, you will also become much more connected to this, much more in a collaborative, co-creative space together, as we once have been. We much of the welcome, we much of the love.
Thank you.
Ah, hi. Wow. Where did we
Ah,
go today?
Hamid was funny today. Oh my God, so funny.
That's
But
good.
good news for me because I've had this issue with chocolate all my life.
Mm,
And well, it's not an issue, Amit says. So it's a completely different way of looking at it, which is, just be very intentional about everything that you consume.
mm,
And it's interesting that Amit mentioned, you know, going into that prayer state before we eat, which is what
mm,
my parents have
mm,
done all their lives.
mm-hmm,
And it's going back to, we talked previously in a previous episode about rituals,
mm.
and
Yeah.
going back to that, before we consume anything, to be,
Mm,
in our hurried state where we're running here and running there and grabbing food, to 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 align to the frequency of the food. And so
mm.
no food is bad as long as you're not carrying guilt about eating it, and that you are
Yeah.
aligned to it. And that way it won't get stuck in the body. It will the parts of it that's not required will expel, as opposed to giving us issues with the digestive system.
Mm,
So
mm.
very interesting. It's all about, it's
Yeah.
about going away from that whole concept of good and bad. Like this is bad food and this is good food, but
Mm,
rather be very intentional about before you consume it, and make sure you're not holding any guilt about consuming it. And then what Amit said
Yeah,
was that then when you do that, you're not going to want to eat chocolate all day.
no, no. And I think, she's talked to me about this because I have a chip addiction, I would call it, right? And often I feel guilty about it. Oh, you shouldn't eat it, bad fats and all that. Don't eat it, don't eat it. And again, she's taken me through this process, of going, firstly, tune in and go, is it needed in this moment, right?
Mm.
Beyond the craving, beyond the emotional stuff, whatever, right? But does the essence of the body need it? And if it's yes, it's like, okay, now I'm just going to align into that, because maybe it's the salt, maybe it is the oils, maybe it is whatever's contained within it that an aspect of the body requires in this moment.
Mm.
And I know since I've done that, I go through moments. I'll go weeks where I just don't want any. Don't want any. Now, I never used to. I used to be crave, that craving, and I used to just grab, and it was just easy. Now I just tune in, and I don't really even think about it. I just tune in, and when chips come to mind, I go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's go and be with chips for a minute, and okay, what aspect am I needing? Let me align with it, and now let's consume it. Um,
Mm.
and then, like you said, it just moves through you. It doesn't get stuck in any places.
Makes it so much easier. All this, there
Yeah,
is such a huge programming about food, and even in the spiritual community, in terms of the kinds of foods that we must eat and the kinds of
yeah,
foods we must not eat. It's a
yeah.
complete obsession about it, and there's so much guilt and shame about food, and so we really
And
need
it
to just
and it's
let
not
that go.
necessarily real because you see people, you know, you, I love getting, seeing interviews with, someone who's 105 years of age, and they go, "What was your secret?" Oh, whiskey every day, and I ate this, and it's like you go, "Oh, but that's all wrong. You should have been eating more greens, and you should." But they're 105. It's like, well, that's weird. And
Mm,
sometimes it's just that, yeah, like that harmonic that gets aligned with the body, and it's what they need. I might not be able to have whiskey every day because it might not align with my body. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's okay as long as I honor that and then align with it. And some things will align and some things may never
yeah,
align
yeah,
because that's just your construct.
yeah, yeah. I feel that was really positive what Amit said
Mm,
about food. And the
mm,
next thing she mentioned that she came in with was about the sun. Like
mm.
I have this, like I know that when the sun's out, I've got this huge pull to go outside and to
Yeah,
be in the sun.
yeah, yeah.
And whenever the sun's out, like I just want to bathe in it. It's so
Mm,
beautiful. And it's interesting, she said that we've been programmed to believe that it's so bad for us and
hmm.
we're always protected. Like
Yeah,
I had a skin specialist say to me, and I've been following this advice ever since for many, many years. I have like a zinc cream I put on my face.
yeah,
And the specialist said, which is 50 plus protection, is whether you're going outside or not, just make it a habit to always put it on your face. And so I do, even in winter. I've got it on now. It's just part of my daily routine. And what Amit is saying is not to be. Like, we don't need to do that, not to be silly and stay outside all day, but you can go
yeah,
out for 5 minutes,
totally.
understand what your skin is capable of having. Because
Yeah,
some people,
yeah.
like Christian, who's very white and has freckles, wouldn't be able to do much in the sun, but
No,
I would be able to stay for a little bit longer. And
totally,
so we don't need that
totally.
protection we think we need.
It's kind of funny because since I learnt that information, I never actually wear sunscreen now. And
Mm,
people often, and I'll sit on the beach for an hour, and people go, "Well, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that." And I go, but I've now probably set my head to go, I'm not going to get burnt. I'm just
mm.
not. I'm not going to stay out there for 5 hours necessarily, but
Yeah,
I know how long my body can stay there without getting burnt. I just know. I don't know. I've now tuned to that, and I'm, smart about it. And again, you know, we're not telling people not to wear sunscreen, just as a disclaimer. Not suggesting that, and I'm sure I need not suggesting that,
no,
but to again tune into what's okay for you. Like Christian might do a minute, where you might do 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
um, And then if you're going to be at the beach for a long period of time with kids or anything, sure, put sunscreen on, do all the things that you feel is right. But I think the message is every now and then try to be in the sun with nothing on for a minute or 2 or 5, right? Don't have to do it with your kids. You don't have to do any of that. That's fine. But just have some opportunities where you do, because I think, as she said to me many times, we're now in this obsession state where we just have to have it on all the time. Therefore,
Yeah.
we're not getting the information we used to get, because we never used to be like that. Like
No.
when you and I were young, we used to put oil on our body. Like it was nuts. Do you remember that? The Hawaiian oil? We used to just chuck Hawaiian oil on. And okay, the sun's different and the ozone, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
But we had time where we were in the sun, not necessarily with anything on. And yes, okay, we got, we weren't as sensitive as we are now, therefore we got burnt from time to time. But we still had time where we didn't have stuff on. It wasn't obsession. Whereas now it's just gone too far. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no time where you don't have something on when you're in the sun.
I love it. I love today's conversation. It's very practical, really
Yeah.
practical and doable, and food and sun. It's something that we can all now just have a different, higher perspective on,
Yeah.
which makes a
Beautiful.
difference because there is more
Totally.
information to be had. None of us have all the information. We're always learning, and so we need to be open to what else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Awesome.
It's great.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone, for listening.
Marcus.
Oh,
It was
thank you.
amazing. Thank
Yay.
you so much. And
Thank
thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Hamid.
Yay. Thank you, Ahmed. We'll see you
Okay.
soon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.